Once, twice, 3 times a bird team. Unfortunately, the Packers only had 8 lives instead of 9. Where valiant efforts rose to the challenge, other questions still remain. There's a lot to think about this coming off season, and we discuss it next on your Packers Fan Podcast.
Hey Packers fans, this is your unofficial Packers Fan Podcast, and these are the podcasters you're looking for. One of these guys has been to the birthplace of Curly Lambeau, and the other guy, well, he has too. And now it's time to go, Pack, go, with your hosts, Wayne Henderson and Troy Heinritz.
Thanks so much for joining us on the Packers Fan Podcast. This is the show by and for fans of your 13-time NFL champion Green Bay Packers. We've got a feedback hotline that even during the offseason, you can give us a call. We want to hear your lovely voice at area code 920-3PACK-GO, or simply go to PackersFanPodcast.com/feedback. Now, this is episode 129 of your Packers Fan Podcast. Tonight is January 23rd that we're recording this, 2017, and we'll have the show notes and things we talk about linked at PackersFanPodcast.com/129.
On this episode, we'll be going over whatever it was, that game against the Falcons to end the season. We'll get into all the details. Plus, we'll share some playoff stats that you may not know about and are quite interesting.
Awesome stuff. We're also going to talk about some awesome listener feedback. We got voicemails. We got Facebook messages, Twitter messages. We're going to share them all with you for the ever hopeful future of the Green Bay Packers. We're also going to talk about what's coming up next for the Packers. And with that, I'm at Wayne Henderson, your voice acting, podcasting, part owner of the 13-time NFL champion Green Bay Packers.
And I'm at Troy Heinritz, stuck in the Midwest for yet another February weekend. Sad face.
Next year.
Oh, well.
Next year.
Next year. 19-0, baby.
You're sounding a lot like me.
Someone's got to run the table.
Oh, no doubt. We might as well just keep rolling it. Start over, reset, and win, baby. Just win. The Packers Fan Podcast is available on demand and on the go with our free Packers Fan Podcast apps for iOS and Android. Those are presented by theticketking.com. Remember, you're not sold out till the king is sold out. Get your Packers tickets next season at the best prices by visiting PackersFanPodcast.com/tickets for the details.
Well, I had very, very tepid expectations for this game, Wayne. I mean, I know it's sad to say that, yes, we did pick I picked a 52-48 victory, assuming that it was going to be a back and forth touchdown battle, knowing that whoever was the first team to not score on one of their possessions would be the loser. I went in fully expecting to not win this football game. So luckily, a first time in a long time losing Monday, my spirits were actually just fine. I was a little bit disappointed that I made a giant drive out to my friend's place about an hour away from here to celebrate what would be at least a competitive football game. Unfortunately, the Packers, once again, Brett Favre was right. We beat ourselves in this game. They did not beat us.
Unbelievable stuff. And then, not that it has anything to do with us, but the Steelers turned in a repeat performance of our game just 3 hours later. What a day.
Just when we're talking about the things that the NFL needed to get excitement around the brand and excitement around the game again, the Packers-Cowboys game, and then you have like 2 just completely lopsided games for the championships. I mean, this is when the networks typically launch television shows or after these things. You remember 24 launched back in the day after an NFC championship game, and now 24 is going to be launching after the Super Bowl this year because Fox happened to have it. And it's just sad to see like that we sat down to have a great day, 2 games of football back to back. And I hate to say it, but like by quarter 2, it was like, okay, what you guys want to do now?
I watched to the bitter end, and you mentioned about...
I watched to the bitter end too. I just said it was over by the second quarter.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to get clarification that you're hanging in there because never say die, Troy. Never say die.
You saw my tweet. I said, hey, remember the comeback.
Yeah.
It's possible. It's happened before. There's precedent.
Ever hopeful.
And we would have overtaken the comeback if it would have happened, but alas.
Yeah.
When not to say that Brett Hundley going in wasn't a bad thing, because he obviously needs the reps and it's in a playoff game, so it's great. But when Hundley went in, I was like, okay, yeah, we're done.
Yeah. And with, like you said, the NFL trying to build a little more interest in the brand and bring ratings back up. And instead they're getting a Super Bowl because everybody pretty much wanted Packers plus
anybody but the Patriots.
Pretty much. And instead they get the Patriots, which I know there's some Patriots fans that are super excited and think it's going to be the biggest ratings thing ever. But I'm sorry. Only the New England area cares about the Patriots. All the rest of us hate the Patriots. And I talked to some people at work, not necessarily big football fans, but they wanted to share their condolences because they heard the Packers lost. And a couple of people, this is going to be amazing, they didn't even know who the Falcons were. So there you have it. A team nobody knows and a team nobody wants.
Well, at the same time, though, when you think about the parity that is the NFL, and especially when you get into some of these playoff stats that I'll take a look at here in a little bit, the fact that this is only the second time the Falcons have been to the big game and they have a chance to actually legitimately win the game, I think the Falcons will actually put the stake in the heart of Tom Brady once and for all and just rip that hoodie off once and for all.
That would be epic if one of the Falcons players, like that guy that's a big flopper, maybe he runs over to Coach Belichick and pulls off the hoodie. That would make for a highlight reel.
Now, because for Matt Ryan, I actually want this to happen. I really want the Falcons to win the Super Bowl. I mean, they were a great team. The fumble Ripkowski had, great defensive play. I mean, Rip had that ball secured. There was no way that ball was coming out, and it just was a really great defensive play. These guys came to win, and I think they have that momentum to go ahead and do the thing, because at the end of the day, and not because we're a Packers fan podcast, not because we're Packers fans, not because we worship the ground Aaron Rodgers walks on sometimes, but honestly, when you look at the team that we have around us and Aaron Rodgers and the team the Falcons have around them and Matt Ryan, you actually had better playmakers that could make Matt Ryan look good, where Aaron Rodgers makes, okay players look that much greater. I mean, look, and that said, Jared Cook isn't a bad player, but Jared Cook has been in the league a long time, and he didn't have the kind of numbers he had this season, and that's because Aaron Rodgers gives him that opportunity.
Exactly.
So Aaron Rodgers is clearly the MVP for making him go that six game winning streak back against the wall, puts the team on his back. He did it in Dallas. He did it against the Giants. He literally was like, I'm just going to run the ball myself in this game. We just got to score.
He had one really sweet run. It was like up the middle. Was it 20 something yards? It was fantastic.
And then he did that sachet kind of slide, or it's like sideways.
Yeah.
And try to draw a flag for it. That was pretty funny. It's like, that's not a slide.
That was one of the main highlights from this game as far as highlights for the Packers. Did anything else jump out at you on the positive side of things for our green and gold?
Well, you couldn't miss him because he was wearing a giant barrel around his ribs. But we just have to say here and now, if you've ever been, because I always wonder, like, should you buy a jersey because you never know if the guys are going to be here the next year because of all the financial stuff. That if you wanted to buy a jersey besides a Favre jersey or a Rodgers jersey, there's no reason why you shouldn't wear or buy a number 87 jersey this offseason, because Jordy Nelson, 14 days since he literally cracked 2 ribs, is back on the field playing with the team. That is grit, man. That is, classic Packer football. The fact that he wanted to play so bad for his team to finish this thing, right? To go all the way and win 9 in a row. I mean, phenomenal. And he comes away with 6 catches, 67 yards, and a touchdown. And he sets the franchise record for career postseason receptions at 54 in the process. I mean, just freaking fantastic.
Yeah, that's definitely a solid option, getting a Jordy Nelson jersey, and those are great stats. And let me just tell a quick little story. My grandson, the one that's 2.5 years old, his parents got him like this little Jordy Nelson kind of stuffed animal doll type of thing. And I'm like, Noah, who's this? He goes, Jordy. So that's good parenting happening over there at my kid's house.
Just a value that Jordy brings to the team. I don't know if you got to see the press conference that was right after the game.
My wife and I were just too downtrodden to want to see anything else that soon. What I missed.
So Aaron Rodgers is at the podium. He's got the skull cap on, suit coat, blue shirt. and he's just standing there, and he got asked the questions like, hey, what about Jordy? And man, Aaron Rodgers, like, I've never seen the man cry. I've seen a lot of press conference. I've never seen him choked up, maybe, in a happy sense after they won the Super Bowl in 2010. But Aaron Rodgers was just like, he didn't have words. I mean, it was just, I started to cry because Aaron Rodgers was crying because Jordy meant that much to him. I mean, it was just a fantastic thing to see that this team really stuck together with each other. The adversity they had to overcome from 4-6 all the way through this process. So yeah, it was really great to see, even the captain was able to shed a little tear there because just how much Jordy meant to the team and playing in this game.
Yeah, he is the most deserving comeback player of the year in recent memory. Well deserved, Jordy.
And I thought it was really cool too. I noticed in the broadcast that they're going to do the NFL Honors Award Show, and they're actually going to air it on Fox.
Yeah, the NFL Honors, February 4th, 2017, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, night before the Super Bowl. And they will list the actual folks that are going into the Hall of Fame next August. And hoping for Kurt Warner, pulling for that guy.
Oh, yeah. And what's funny is like Kurt Warner was doing some of the analysis. I think it was on it was on NFL Network, I believe it was. Maybe it was on ESPN. I can't remember which one he was working for. He was standing next to Mooch. And I'm just sitting there looking at Kurt Warner, and I'm like, really? I got to look at Kurt Warner and remind me of 2009 before I have to go play another game just like that?
I didn't even think of it that way, but sorry, Troy, that must have hurt.
That was fine. But yeah, it was just, oh man, Jordy, such a good game. Jared Cook, I thought, granted there were some drop balls out there, but for what this guy was able to do, I mean, he is our third down conversion man. And I know we got him for like the 1-year deal and he's up for free agency, but I thought Jared Cook just, he really helped spark the team again. Devontae Adams having a really clutch touchdown, hanging onto the ball right at the goal line. But yeah, stellar play all around. Rodgers battling the flu. I mean, I know that's always your go-to line, but yeah, Aaron Rodgers literally had the flu this week. So that actually works for you for once.
Yeah. And I was struggling with the stomach flu this weekend myself in sympathy for the team.
It was just sad to see an 8-game win streak that we were on, especially coming off of the high last week where you thought, man, if we could do that, we could do anything.
No, definitely.
Put up a giant goose egg in 2 quarters of football.
Yeah. I mean, there's no single thing that we can blame for that loss. I mean, it was just a collection of everything. And, maybe the flu had a little bit to do with it, but, there was terrible tackling. I'm like, I wouldn't even call it tackling. And some of the bad defensive schemes I don't know why even my wife's like, why is the middle of the field open? Why is the middle of the field always open?
It's always going to be open when they play zone defense.
Well, let's not do that.
Well, you look at the personnel on the field. There's no way you can play man-to-man with the personnel you have. So, I mean, as much as we're going to talk about Dom Capers in a little bit and his potential future, with the personnel you have, I mean, you have to do the best you can, and zone coverage is still a better option because you play man-to-man, you're definitely going to get burned with the people you have out on the field. So it is what it is. I mean, I sat in the bar and I said, okay, it's 3rd and 9. Somebody watch the middle of the field because that's where they're going to throw the ball, and that's where they threw the ball.
And poor Aaron Rodgers. The offensive line has been doing so well.
Well, when Lang went down, you knew that it wasn't going to be a good day.
Well, yeah, it wasn't even that great before he went down, but after he went down, and of course you saw Barclay come in and again playing on artificial turf, things got a little sticky, and just you add all those things up, not to mention the team getting out of Green Bay late because of the fog and having to ride a bus down to Milwaukee and catch the plane and get to Atlanta very, very late. Mix that in with recovering from the flu for some of the players. I know they're professionals, but all those things have just got put little dings in the back of your head.
I know, just like the Pittsburgh Steelers, we're all woken up by the fire alarm at the hotel. I'm sure it was Brady's Pop Warner team that came in there and did that to him.
Probably.
Cheater.
I know. It's terrible. But at the same time, when I watched the Steelers game last week, and they won, but it was with a whole bunch of field goals, I'm like, you're going to need more than field goals against the Patriots.
That's a fun stat, too, I got coming up. But, man, I tell you, the thing that really killed us was, I mean, Mason Crosby missed the field goal, and it was like, oh, and I tell you, it is the curse of the television stats.
I know where you're going.
Mason Crosby's never missed a field goal ever, and oh my gosh, he was 10, and then he was 10 of 10 in the playoffs or whatever it was. They literally flashed it up on the screen just as he kicked the ball, and I was like, dear God, no.
I heard you, Troy. I saw that and I thought, oh man, if he misses,
it is what it is. And then when you had Ripkowski fumble the ball on the next drive inside the 20, inside the 10 even.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's such a great run, and then just to have it coughed up, it's just, those two things there. And then you look at the miscues we had on the fake snap handoff that literally we fell on top of the ball and couldn't secure the fumble recovery. And then the two potential interceptions we could have had in the red zone. This game was within reach. I mean, even for as many offensive yards the defense gave up. I mean, the number was staggering. When you look at the box score, you're like, how many yards did the Packers defense give up? Yeah.
And then, of course, obviously, it's when you're that far behind, you got to try an onside kick. But I don't think those work for the Packers in the playoffs very often.
Either way, kicking or receiving.
Yeah.
Oh man, but yeah, it was just sad because you really wanted it to be a competitive game, and it just wasn't, unfortunately. What are you gonna do? What are you going to do?
There's not much else we can do. Thank goodness we have a lot of listener feedback to share with everybody, because that'll help guide the conversation, and we've got a lot of great thoughts to share with you. But let's kind of kick it off with the weekly Monday Twitter poll. This will be the last one for the season, at least until we get to the draft and things like that. But basically, at Packers Fan Pod posted out, even though we consistently make it to the playoffs, do you think some Packers coaching changes would help us get even further? 15% of the people that voted, and there was a lot of votes, 15% said no coaching changes needed.
I would be in that bandwagon normally, just because it's not the coaches that are on the field playing, right? I mean, there is some responsibility of the people that are actually on the field executing the scheme.
Well,
but in this case, I
know.
I agree that it's a scheme issue.
And 23% of the people that voted said yes, change a few of the coaches out. But
I was one of those percents.
And the huge winner at 62% with the votes, yes, at least change the defensive coordinator. And in fact, Paul replied to the Twitter poll and said,
he said what I just said.
Well, yeah, he said, no, I fail to see how any coaches can win with that personnel in defense.
Hey, they're professionals. I mean, yeah, they might not be that great to cover Julio Jones, but they can cover everybody else. And there was 8 receivers, 8 different people touched the ball on that opening drive for the Falcons. That's ridiculous.
And that's the type of stat that you normally hear credited to the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers.
Absolutely is.
So when we hear it being attributed to the other team, I don't like it.
Not at all. Not at all. Hey, you know what, though? Because it is the end of the season and we want to make sure we come back in full force for the 2017 campaign when we'll go 19-0, according to Wayne.
And many other people.
You can help us make the Packers Fan Podcast even better. So go on over to PackersFanPodcast.com/support. And there's a whole bunch of ways that you could support the podcast. We want to make sure that you guys are excited for us to return in 2017. So head on over there. The biggest thing you can do, obviously, is just shop with our Amazon link. Or, of course, you can just give straight dollars as well over at Patreon. That's patreon.com/PackersFanPodcast. So make sure you go check that out as well. All the links are there, PackersFanPodcast.com/support. We would thank you very much. And just think of it like buying stock. It's very, very helpful. Saberade and Granny Cheese share their awesome support this season. So let's go ahead and add to the ranks as we get ready to run the table all the way.
Now's as good a time as any to get started. And with getting started, here's some listener feedback. Let's check in with the great state of Texas.
Wayne and Troy, go Pack, go. Hooray, and hats off to the resilient Green Bay Packers. They had a great season. They did what they could. with whatever they had at hand, with the players they had healthy. Hey, we weren't even supposed to be in the NFC Championship. But hey, you know what? They got there. It was a great season, and better luck next season. Hopefully everybody will come back healthy, and let's bring back the trophy to Green Bay. Bye.
I disagree. The Packers absolutely should have been in the NFC Championship game this year. The fact that they got there after they completely stunk it up for the first 10 games, yes, we understand that it was a bit of a miracle that we did make it all the way we did. But this is where we were supposed to be. We were 6-0 to start the season last year, and then we fell on the hard times with all the injuries again, and then the offense fell apart, and Mike McCarthy took the play calling back over, and it seemed like things were kind of gelling, and you're like 500, and you're like, what's going on? And you take away that 4-game losing streak, and the Packers are the team that they're supposed to be. This was literally just a situation of injuries caught up to us. And so some of those coaching changes might just have to be either the team doctor or the, the people that get you into shape, team physicians, trainers, what have you. Something's got to be done, because I know people say, there's injuries on every team. I'm sorry. Like, there's no reason why the entire secondary has to go down every week.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. And we thank you very much for your call from Texas, and made a great point mentioning that the Packers were resilient. I think resilience is the best way to describe almost every player on the team this season.
Oh, yeah, especially during the 8-game stretch. Absolutely, 100%. They just did not quit. Did not quit at all.
Not to mention Jordy Nelson in the game we just witnessed.
Oh, yeah. Huge.
I mean, by the second half, you could tell that he was in a lot of pain. It was like the injury just happened.
Right.
Poor guy, Jordy. Oh, my goodness. Anyway, back to the listener voicemail hotline, which jot this down and keep it for future. Area code 920-3-PACK-GO.
Hey, this is Anne-Marie DuPont calling from Virginia Beach, Virginia. I am a longtime Packer fan. Was really sad about the game tonight, but our boys looked really tired. I think they had a lot of the energy went with the Dallas game last week. I know they will do better in the future. Also had a lot of injuries. So it's time to regroup and get ready for next year. And they will do it. Have a nice evening and take care. Bye.
Anne-Marie, thank you so much for giving us a call on the listener voicemail line. That's a great point. Time to get ready for next year. Obviously, they're going to get some well-deserved time off, but people are already putting the wheels in motion. Anne-Marie, great to hear from you. I don't think we've ever had a call from Virginia Beach before, so we appreciate that and hope to hear from you again next season. What do you got, Troy?
Sounds like also a great place to visit during the off season, so maybe you'll have to get down to Virginia Beach.
That does sound like a really nice place to be. Definitely.
I had some money set aside for a vacation to Houston, so I just might have to change plans.
You can always go to the Pro Bowl. Sorry, couldn't resist.
No.
Well, on the other side of the coast here in Southern California, more Packers fans checking in.
Packer fan here, first-time caller. Disappointed in the way the season ended, but it was a fun, magical ride. I'm hoping that we can do better in our secondary in the draft. Man, all our corners seem to get beat pretty consistently. We have solid safeties and hopefully an injury-free next season and a better start to the season, better finish. Go, Pack, go.
Yeah, and it was a shame, too, to see Micah Hyde get hurt in this game, because Micah Hyde was kind of like the rising star from the cornerback side. You got Sam Shields, who went down earlier in the year. Then he got busted for the marijuana charge. So it'll probably be, I highly doubt Sam Shields will get re-signed for next year. So cornerback position is a little bit of a scare right now, and we'll have to do something there. I'd like to see us maybe do something in free agency around the cornerback position. I'd like to see Micah Hyde move out to the outside corner long-term, potentially in the offseason. And then, of course, draft a few young guys so that we can get some swing around. And you know what? Maybe this was, I hate to use the word, the Devontae Adams season for Demarius Randall, but he was able to bust it out this year with Devontae, so maybe Demarius will get back to form like he did in his rookie year and have a great year next year as well. So, but yeah, cornerbacks right now are the biggest challenge I think we have going in the offseason.
I would say that's an understatement.
Because the safeties are great. I mean, you had Morgan Burnett, you had Clinton Dix going to the Pro Bowl, you had Bryce back there. Granted, he got hurt in this game right away again. So safeties I'm not so concerned about, but at outside corner position, man, it is slim pickings out there.
And the fact that we came into this game already with huge numbers of injuries, and then we got so many new injuries in this game, it was just made you shake your head, roll your eyes, and just hang on for dear life.
Or just drink another beer.
Well, you were in the appropriate surroundings for that, so yeah.
I was.
At least it was not a heart attack game, I guess.
Yeah, when Mason missed a kick, I was like, but I might have just been choking on my walleye too.
Oh, yeah, it could have been. Very well could have been. All right, more voicemails for you. Heard again here from Robert, who's from the Two Bobs podcast.
Hey guys, this is Robert from the Two Bobs podcast. Just calling to check in after tonight's game. What a tough way to go out. I mean, we had to run the table in order to even get there, which was, I mean, amazing to even be in that spot after being 4-6 to start the season. But wow, it's like the team almost didn't know to show up today. We gave it their all and did what they could, but it seemed like the Falcons were a buzzsaw we weren't really prepared for. Anyhow, I think one of the things that was coming across my mind tonight was whether that was better to go out that way versus the way we did in Seattle a couple of years ago. And I have to say that the way we went out in Seattle was worse. I mean, to lead throughout the game and then to kind of come apart at the end, you're almost counting your money to get Super Bowl tickets, and then to have it all just kind of slip away, that was really tough. This game, I think, was definitely not for the faint of heart, but from the beginning, and we just could never get close enough to make you feel like you had a chance, and definitely embarrassed. But if I had to pick one, I'd say the other one was definitely the worst against the Seahawks. But anyhow, hopefully we'll get back to the promised land next year and get the help that we need on defense and get some more help on offense, and you're ready to start cheering again. Go Pack, go. Have a great season, guys.
You think so, Robert?
Go Pack, go indeed. Robert from the Two Bobs podcast.
Thanks, Robert, for rubbing it in again and just opening up those wounds even bigger.
Robert, it's so good to hear from you. And Troy, I was thinking of you because I believe in that Seattle game, you were counting your money getting ready to go to the Super Bowl.
I had the suitcase out sitting on the floor, and I was literally picking up, okay, which one of my 10 Packers shirts should I bring with me?
Yeah, and I was receiving congratulatory texts from relatives, and I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And then, of course, whoa.
Yeah, whoa, indeed.
But
Man.
Robert brings up a great point. Would you rather lose the way you did to Seattle, or we did to Seattle, or the way it was just this week?
No, I'd rather get my ass handed to me, pardon my language. I never want to relive 2014 ever again, because Dallas was close enough. I mean, it was like, I can't believe we just let these guys back in the game. We led the whole game, and it's happening. Detroit almost did it to us. Chicago did it to us. No, no. If we're gonna lose, just kick me out. Put me out of my misery in the first quarter. That makes it so much easier to enjoy the game going forward. But yeah, never like 2014 or even 2009 with that Falcons game. It was just so heartbreaking.
I just want to say that I'm very happy that we made it this far in the season. It was a great season, but we missed a lot of great opportunities. Missed field goal, drops, Ripkowski's fumble, our defense. Like, where was our defense? They're not covering the right people. The Falcons were wide open, making plays, getting touchdowns. It's like, what happened? The Falcons absolutely picked us apart. But granted, I'm not making excuses. We had a lot of injuries, and I hope that next season we learn from this and we go to Super Bowl 52 and go Pack go.
52 is a great number. Go Pack go indeed. You know what? I just love the memes that people come up with when they go across the internet and just the stuff that you read out there. My favorite one was someone took a picture of Odell Beckham Jr.'s punch hole. Yes, the one that he punched the Lambeau in the locker room or in the hallway or whatever it was, and he punched a hole there. And
we haven't gotten him back up to Lambeau to spackle it yet.
Not yet, not yet. Because the meme came out. And it's just so funny. It's got Aaron Rodgers' face behind the hole, kind of peeping out from the hole, and he's like, "Psst, guys, where's the defense? Anybody seen the defense?"
Oh.
And I cracked up so hard. It was like, oh man, And then there was the one that I think I tweeted it out on the Packers Fan Podcast account, which was the Alfred Hitchcock, the Birds movie poster.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's sad to say, but it's like when you're down by that much, you just have to find a way to make it fun. And at least the community was great. I mean, I know we had a lot of our NFC North division rivals giving us crap on Twitter and rubbing it all in our faces and whatever. But I mean, at least the Packers fan crowd on Twitter yesterday, like we knew we were done early, and everybody just had a really good time. It was really cordial. So good spirits on the internet, which doesn't usually happen on the internet these days. If you've been out there in any way, shape, or form.
Well, let's just say it was mostly cordial.
Mostly cordial.
There were 5 trolls that I did have to block.
Oh no!
I mean, they must have just tracked us down by following the hashtag for the game and just But
now, did you truly block them, or did you just kind of like brush them with your elbow and they like fake flopped over? And I just have to say, for all those people, because we have to go back to when there was like good stuff to talk about against those Dallas Cowboys. But tonight on this very podcast, we've had calls from Texas, Virginia, California, and that last one was from Indiana. So who's America's team? Yeah, baby.
That is true. America's true team, the 13-time NFL champion Green Bay Packers.
Hey, this is Nathan from Arizona again. Obviously a tough loss yesterday. No one likes to see that, but let's not state the obvious. I guess we kind of will. The obvious being that we're getting better. Last year, a game short. This year, a game further, making it to the NFC Championship game. We continue on that track, and we'll be Super Bowl bound next year. This was a hard year to predict in the NFL. A lot of teams kind of rose to power that we didn't see coming. Of course, we had the 4-6 start. That's never easy, but battled through deficits and showed, the talent that we had on the team. Great job by all the players for sticking that out and going through with it. Next year, what can we do to get better? A few things. So long as we continue advancing on the track that we are, we're on track for a Super Bowl. I grew up in Indiana. I can remember when the Colts lost to the Steelers in the AFC Championship game. I thought that was it. I thought it was over. Everyone did. We ended up getting rid of Edgerrin James, the running back at the time. I thought that was a bad idea. Kept Reggie Wayne, and instead, the very next year, we won a Super Bowl up there. So I think that could happen again with Green Bay being the case this time. It hurts to lose, but we did great in the season. Sucks that you say your one bad game till that last one, right? But don't give up on the Packers, anybody. Don't give up because they have one bad game like that. I think it'll help get out a lot of the fake fans, things like that. But we got to stay healthy next year is our main focus next to fixing the defense. We just got to maybe get a system set up for better player health up there. Great job by the team this year and to the fans for sticking with the team. Wasn't the easiest year to be a Packers fan until late in the season, but it's always easy to be a Packers fan when it's true.
Absolutely. And Nathan's call got cut off then, but so good to hear from you from Arizona, Nathan. He also added via Twitter saying, my hopes are that we pick up players and or coaches who will better our defense and players' safety. Thanks again, guys. Hope it helps. And as always, thanks again and go Pack Go.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of voicemail.
So many great voicemails. I love them. Keep them coming.
The feedback doesn't end there, people. That's right. We got Facebook checking in. We had Lafia saying, fire Dom Capers. That's all I have to say. It's been a great season, but sadly it has come to an end. Sad, angry face.
Sad, angry face. If you dictate that to Siri, is that how you get that emoticon to pop up?
I don't know. I'll have to try it later.
Sad, angry face. Now Now, before we get into the whole Dom Capers thing, just real quick, Nathan brought up one great point I wanted to touch on, because this reminded me of the early years with Brett Favre, where it seemed like, we finally made it to the playoffs, and then the next year we made it one step further, and then we finally got over the hump over the Cowboys and the 49ers, and we won the Super Bowl. And I could see that happening. We are getting a little further again each year. Might be destiny calling for Super Bowl 52 with the Claymaker, number 52. What do you think?
I hope so, because I don't see it as we're getting better each year. I see it as our time is starting to run out.
Oh, boy.
Because we were NFC Championship 14, one step away from NFC Championship 15, NFC Championship 16, Super Bowl, and then we went 15-1 in the 2011 season to get knocked out by the Giants in the first round. Or second round in that case. So, I mean, we've been here. Now it's time to figure out, why can't we make the leap forward to get back? I think those are the questions we have to ask ourselves in the offseason.
Well, back to Lofia's point, fire Dom Capers. I know we've heard that a little bit over the past few seasons when we get knocked out of the playoffs, or even before we get to the playoffs. But this year, it seems to really be going around. And I hate for anybody to lose their job, but I think it's time.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just go ahead and put this one out here right now. These are some of my playoff stats, but I thought this was really interesting when you kind of looked at it from this perspective. So Aaron Rodgers has lost 3 playoff games where the defense has given up 44 plus points. So all the years he's been our quarterback, we've had 3 playoff losses where we've lost by 44 points. Conversely, Tom Brady.
Oh, Tom Brady.
Tom Brady has never had a 44 points scored against him in the 267 starts that Tom Brady has had.
And of course, none of that has to do with the quarterbacks, actually.
No, it has nothing to do with the quarterbacks, but Tom Brady hasn't had to overcome a 44-point deficit.
Exactly.
In order to win the game in 267 starts. Aaron Rodgers has had to do it 3 times in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's not counting any regular season games.
And in Aaron Rodgers, all of his 7 playoff losses, the defense has allowed an average of 36.3 points per game.
That's hard to overcome.
So I'm coining the hashtag for the offseason, hashtag get the man some help.
That's a long hashtag, but I like it. It explains the whole situation.
7 playoff losses, 36 points to overcome. That is sad when you look at it from that perspective.
That truly is. I mean, and Aaron most of the time does a good job of not throwing people under the bus, but the numbers are the numbers. There's no way around it.
I mean, normally you say if a team puts up 20 points on you, like 20 points or less, the defense did a really good job, right? I mean, that's 2 touchdowns. It's going to happen. Garbage time, fourth quarter,
exactly.
What have you. So you're going to get around that 20-point mark, but 36 points per game in all of Aaron Rodgers' 7 playoff losses. That's not on him, man. He's not a miracle man. We think he's a miracle man, but he's not a miracle man. That's a problem, and that's scheme. That's not personnel. That's not players. That's people understand how to beat us by the time the end of the season's come because we don't have anything new. The Falcons were one of the worst defenses in the league this year, and they somehow managed to completely turn around their entire defensive scheme, especially coming into the playoffs. These last 3-4 games the Falcons defense have been playing, they're like one of the best defenses in the NFL. And we saw that with the pressure that we had against Aaron Rodgers in this game. And Aaron wasn't even expecting it. I mean, 2 of those sacks, blindside sacks, just came out of nowhere. I mean, can't believe Aaron Rodgers hang on to the ball on the 1 sack that he got hit by. And so if they're able to turn around the Atlanta defense, I mean, we should be able to turn around a Packers defense, even decimated with the injuries that we have. So, yeah, this tells me that it probably is time to take a look at 400. What was it? I was going to say 500 yards, but I don't want to be misleading and give alternative facts or anything. But the total yardage for the Falcons in this game, 493.
Wow.
493 total yards. That's not good.
Yeah, and I don't know the time of possession numbers, but I know that especially in the first half, our defense was out there all the time.
Way too long. Way too long. Time of possession was 33-39 for the Falcons, 26-21 for the Packers.
That actually makes it sound close. I thought it was going to be something like 44 minutes versus, 16 or something ridiculous.
I mean, our red zone efficiency was still 100%. Our goal to go efficiency was still 100%. So those are good numbers, but it's the fact that you had that one fumble lost inside the red zone, which technically he ran into the red zone, so it doesn't affect the red zone efficiency stat per se. But yeah, it just third down efficiency again, 4 out of 10 for 40% on third down. That's not going to win football games. It's not.
And listener Dean Tix takes Lofia's suggestion a step further. Please get a new GM. He did well with Jared Cook in free agency, but that was that. Draft and develop only goes so far.
And I agree that draft and develop only goes so far. But at the same time, we've been in the playoffs every year, 8 years in a row. I mean, they're teams that would kill for that opportunity. So,
well, true, but the fact that we're 1 Super Bowl out of 8, 1 out of 8, you would think we could get to the Super Bowl at least 1 or 2 more times.
36.3 points a game to overcome.
Exactly.
It's not Ted Thompson, people. It's not the fact that we're drafting the wrong players. It's the fact that we don't have defensive scheme, defensive leadership, defensive coaching that we need in order to make the defense that it was when we literally had to stop everybody in that 3 road game stretch in order to get to Super Bowl 45 and to get to a 15-1 season in 2011. I mean, that was when we had a stellar defense. And we need to have that defense back again. And so I think that's where the changes need to happen in the offseason.
Yeah, and things worked out so well with Jared Cook, like Dean said. I don't know what free agents are out there for us to try to grab, but it'd sure be nice if we could get another, like future Hall of Famer or somebody close to that stature.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you have to be thinking, Rodgers will be, 34 by next December?
Can you believe it? It seems like we just got him.
I don't think that he's at the end of his prime by any stretch of the imagination.
No, did you see last week?
But at the same time, you have to remember there is this thing called the salary cap, and we can't keep this team together for much longer. We're getting at that higher end of the threshold. I mean, we'll talk about the free agents here in a bit, but when you look at what the numbers are landing, it's like next year is the year. Like, we have to win next year. Otherwise, we have to start breaking up the awesomeness that it is. And that just might be, where we start to say, okay, who's weak and who's not weak and who's going to start falling apart when we don't have all the talent that we have right now. And we have to figure a way to fix that. And so next year, we need to have the Jared Cook pickup in free agency for a cornerback. It just has to happen, or at least on the defensive line, because we need someone that can get a pass rush in there. Rodgers was sacked twice in this game. We had zero sacks on Matt Ryan, with Peppers, with Clay Matthews, with Nick Perry. I mean, all these guys who are typically our beast mode people, and we still couldn't get to Matt Ryan. So we need help up front with those front 3, getting that pressure in there. And, and it might be time to go back to a 4-3 defense instead of a 3-4. Who knows? But again, that all needs to be discussed about here in the offseason.
Absolutely. Things are probably already underway. We also heard from Granny Cheese, a.k.a. Dawn, on Facebook. I am just so devastated for our Packers. They play through so much sickness, injuries. So I wanted Peppers to get a ring this year. I'm so afraid that he won't be with us next season. And what a great second birthday gift it would have been for number 82 and number 88 to have won today.
Yeah, it just didn't happen. It just wasn't in the cards.
Yeah, my wife is in total agreement. She wants Peppers to get a ring as well. So if there's any way we could get him back for one more year, and like you said, next year, maybe the hashtag should be do or die. I mean, like, this is the window. Do it. Make it happen.
Absolutely, 100%. We also heard from some people on Twitter. At PR Packers said, thank you, Packers, for such an extraordinary season. Deeply in love with my hashtag Packers, hashtag Go Pack Go, hashtag What's a Packer, always a Packer.
Ooh, I love it.
That's a long hashtag.
That is, but it's so true. Also heard from Spicoli on Twitter. This team just doesn't have enough healthy guys left. Got to draft DBs.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. At Quincy Bostic, Cornelius out there said, we just played horrible, and we need a better defensive coordinator and style. Jared Cook drops passes. We need a makeover. I disagree. I don't think we need a makeover. We just need to refocus. Refocus, I think, is the key word.
Yeah, and Jared Cook, I mean, he played last week. He caught the pass of the year. But I just wonder if maybe he was a bit hobbled from the flu and the chaos.
Light and,
the bus ride. And I mean, there's no excuse. They're professionals. But still, he just didn't look quite right out there.
It's loud. It's loud, too. I mean, the volume. What was that called? Like, there was one play where they were on the goal line, and Jordy was even looking back. He's like, what do we call him? What's the play? What's the play?
Well, like Aaron Rodgers said, whether or not all of that sound is real and spectacular remains to be seen. But
True.
Ryan Hunter, a.k.a. @ChosenRadar on Twitter, curious if you remember an onside kick ever going the Packers' way. I don't. And I wonder if that's a Bostic reference.
Ah, geez, just keep digging the knife in, will you? Man. It's like, it's bad enough that I didn't get to go to Houston this year, but you got to keep bringing back out 2014.
Next year, Troy, next year. Where's next year's Super Bowl?
I haven't even looked, to be quite honest. I just know it's not Minnesota, thank God.
And it's too soon to have it in L.A. because we don't have our new stadium. But we'll have to go to that one. U.S. Bank Stadium.
Is 52 going to be U.S. Bank?
Yeah, wherever that is. I mean, why can't these teams just, quit selling out rights to your stadium? We will always have our stadium called Lambeau Field, and we will always know whose stadium it is.
It is the Minnesota one next year.
Oh, well, that'll be nice for the Vikings to let us come up there and represent the NFC North in the Super Bowl.
That'd be great because I have lodging to get up to that game for next year.
You seem to have lodging all across the U.S.
I do. Packer fans unite. But I do actually have lodging up there, so that would be really helpful. They'll save on some cash.
Yeah, maybe Ben DeBono from the Sci-Fi Christian podcast would like to go with us to a game.
Love you, Ben. I'm glad we're friends now.
I don't know anybody that hates the Packers as much as Ben.
Hey, just for you, Ben. That's why we said this one was once, twice, 3 times a bird team. Which, if you haven't figured that out, it is Seahawks, Cardinals, Falcons, all bird teams.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
A couple years before that, we marched into Atlanta and we took care of the birds.
We did.
So it's a recent problem that we need to get fixed up.
A recent trend. Yeah.
Are there any other birds left that we could play next season that we need to really make sure we're ready for?
Well, we could make it to the Super Bowl next year and lose to the Ravens in the Super Bowl.
Not losing to the Ravens. Wow, Troy. Duwash11, Latron on Twitter. The referees own this game, not the teams. I saw holding on six straight plays. And this
horrible.
Was tweeted to us in the first quarter.
Horrible. I mean, that Morgan Burnett pass interference call is the best ball I've ever seen defended. Turned around, got his hands up there, hand position. That is not pass interference by rule.
Yeah, played the ball.
That is so bad. The face mask on Rodgers before Rodgers ripped the dude's helmet off.
There were at least 2 blatant face masks against Aaron Rodgers, no flags, and then the one time when he does a bit of a face mask in retaliation, flag.
Well, let's be clear. I mean, rewatching the play, his finger, he was trying to stiff arm, and Aaron's known not to be the big stiff arm guy, but he stiff arms him, and his finger gets caught in the helmet, and the helmet was a little bit loose to begin with.
Very loose. There's no way it should have come off.
So as he's trying to get his finger out, that's why the helmet came off. I mean, you're watching it, of course, at full speed, and it looks like, oh, yeah, Aaron just ripped that dude's head off.
Aaron was getting pretty frustrated, and I don't blame him. I was all for that play.
Oh, there was tons of defensive holding, too, on the receivers breaking away. The secondary was grabbing all over the place. So it just is what it is. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't.
Yeah. And obviously, that's not the main reason we lost the game, but it sure didn't help. And it was just these all-star playoff collections of refs stink.
Yeah. I mean, I think the one thing that the NFL needs to look at, instead of looking at, how do we make the quarterback safer and how do we make the everybody not get hurt in concussion protocol, and they need to look at the referees in the offseason and really figure out, because all the games this year were just horribly officiated. Lots of blown calls. It was really bad all the way around. It really takes away from the sport.
Amen.
Especially when you have 79,000 people in the stands and many billions more at home, watching this thing. It's like, people, come on. Everybody has watched this sport long enough now. We know what a hold is. We know what a pass interference call is. It's blatant. How can you guys not see it on the field?
It's a fine question. Something they need to take a look at.
And did you know that we're not only America's team, but we're also UK's team, Ireland's team, and Germany's team too? Yes, at Packers Fans Germany is checking in, says, I think it's because nearly everyone was injured this season. Some good running backs and cornerbacks should be available at the draft.
I hope so.
I think we're good on the running back side. I don't think we need to be looking at the running back situation. Cornerbacks, definitely. Definitely quarterbacks and defensive line.
I mean, do you think it sounds like we're going to stick with Ty Montgomery as a running back? I would sure love to have Eddie Lacy healthy and ready to go.
I mean, think of what Ty can do with a full off-season workout, understanding the playbooks and really getting in there. I mean, he did a fantastic job down the stretch. I mean, you get that full OTA behind you in the mini camps and everything, and prepare as a running back in the offseason. I mean, he can be dangerous next year. Dangerous.
Mm-hmm. I know Granny Cheese and the Texas Packer fans are 100% behind Ty Montgomery, so let's make it happen.
All right, well, before we look ahead at 2017 and what we might see coming out of free agency, I just want to throw these fun playoff stats out there, because we're out of the playoffs now, and I found these very interesting as I was reading through them.
Troy, hashtag not my Super Bowl.
Not my Super Bowl, that's right.
Go ahead, Troy.
Go Falcons. The Trinity, right? Tom Brady, Eli Manning, and Peyton Manning in the playoffs all have the exact same playoff passer rating of 87.4.
Really?
But did you know that Mark Sanchez, Mark Sanchez.
Wait a minute.
I said Mark Sanchez and playoffs in the same sentence. Playoffs?
Something's wrong here. We're back in the red universe again.
Mark Sanchez has a higher playoff passer rating than Brady, Eli, Peyton, Brett Favre, Ben Roethlisberger, Phillip Rivers, Steve Young, and one John Elway.
Now, is this with him playing in the game or just as the backup with the clipboard?
In the 6 games that Sanchez was in the playoffs, he has a better playoff passer rating than Brady, Eli, Peyton, Brett, Ben, Phillip, Steve, and John.
You just blew my mind.
I know, right? Russell Wilson actually only needs 2 fourth-quarter comebacks in the playoffs to tie Tom Brady for the most all-time. And by the way, Russell's only 28 years old.
Julian
Edelman, in his 7th season as a pro, already has more postseason receptions than Anquan Boldin, Fred Biltokoff, Marvin Harrison, Chris Carter, Shannon Sharp, Larry Fitzgerald, Randy Moss, and Terrell Owens.
Even more than Fred Biletnikoff? What?
Yeah, even more than Fred Biletnikoff.
So this is just playoffs?
Just playoffs. Okay. Just playoffs.
Interesting.
6 teams have won a playoff game without scoring a touchdown. The Steelers accomplished that feat this year.
Yeah.
And the 2006 Colts were the last to do it before going on to win the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, it didn't work out so well for the Steelers. Notable playoff choker Tony Romo, who didn't even see the playoffs this year, has a higher playoff passer rating than clutch hero Tom Brady.
Take that.
So Romo, some people might want to play. I hear Cleveland needs a quarterback.
I would not be surprised to see him become a Denver Bronco next season.
It might be. Number 7, NFL kickers have been perfect during the playoffs. 34 of 34 before this weekend.
Oh, boy.
Sorry, Mason.
Mason is money. Love that guy.
8 different AFC teams have played in a conference championship game since 2000, while 13 teams have appeared in the NFC championship game over that same period. Just shows you that we're more competitive in the NFC. The 3 NFC teams that haven't appeared in the conference title game. Can you guess them?
3 NFC teams not in a NFC title game. Well, let's say the Lions.
That's one.
NFC. Hold on. I'm wasting way too much time. My brain is focused on the Packers. I can't think of the other 2.
Cowboys and the Redskins.
Wait a minute. What was the question again?
It just says the 3 NFC teams that haven't appeared in the conference title game. Must be recently. Maybe in like the 2000 era or something like that.
Because I know those 2 have been in it before.
They have been in it before. So it must be a recent era.
But it definitely has not been recently.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's going on with the Lions.
Proof that playoff performance has no predictive value. Jake Delhomme had the best passer rating in NFL playoff history after his first 6 postseason games.
Nice.
He then threw 8 interceptions over his next 2.
Well, at least that first part was awesome.
We already knew this one, but it didn't happen this year. Whenever the Packers and Giants have played in the postseason, the winner had gone on to win the title. False.
Yeah, that's true. That myth was debunked, and that was like a big story a couple weeks ago.
Only one quarterback over the age of 40 has won an NFL playoff game. Can you guess who that is?
Is that Brett Favre?
That's Brett Favre.
That's right.
By the way, Tom Brady does turn 40 next August.
It's been real, Tom.
Only 3 teams have made the conference championship game after starting the season 4-6 or worse. The Packers, who did it this year, would be the first to make the Super Bowl after doing so. Guess what? Keep dreaming.
Oh.
Only 3 running backs have rushed for more than 160 yards twice in the NFL playoffs. Terrell Davis, John Riggins, and Le'Veon Bell, who is only 24 years old.
Oh, my goodness. That bodes well for him.
The Ice Bowl does remain the coldest game in NFL playoff history with a kickoff temperature of minus 13 degrees. The coldest feeling game, however, was the 1982 AFC title game between the Chargers and Bengals. It felt like minus 59 that day in Cincinnati.
Woohoo!
Wow.
2 teams that have no Super Bowl titles, correct?
Correct. And the only one quarterback in NFL history has started multiple playoff games and gone undefeated, which is Frank Reich, author of the Bills' famous comeback against the Oilers in 1993.
And I'm old enough to remember that game. It was insane.
I know, and that's the game we were trying to emulate, but unfortunately we did not. Brady and Peyton are the only 2 quarterbacks to attempt 1,000 passes in the postseason. No other quarterback has attempted more than 800. In the 2012 playoffs, Tim Tebow averaged 23.8 yards per completion. That's the highest mark in a single postseason since the merger.
Nice work, Tebow. Tebow time.
In just 21 seasons of existence, the Ravens own the record for most road playoff wins with 10. The Giants have won the most road playoff games in a row with 5.
Very
and last
interesting.
but not least, last but not least, the Lions have lost an NFL record 9 consecutive playoff games since the merger. Detroit is 1-13 in the postseason.
They're the best.
The best.
Something about that team, man. They just, since the merger, sorry, Detroit.
Yeah. So just some fun there as we wrap up the season. So coming up for the Packers, we have quite a few free agents that we're tracking here in the 2017 season, starting with the number 1, Julius Peppers. He's the most expensive guy. So the hope would be is that Julius realizes, you know what? I can go one more year, and I think next year is the year. But I think Julius is going to have to take a pay cut in order to make that happen because he's going to demand quite a hefty salary, almost $1 million raise most likely, for his role for next year. So let's just hope that he's willing to either stay at his current salary or maybe take a pay cut to remain a Green Bay Packer. But the one that we absolutely need to sign in free agency is one TJ Lang, obviously making a name for himself, the Pro Bowl pick. We got to make sure that TJ, he's healthy and ready to go next year. Nick Perry is also an unrestricted free agent, so we need to take a look at Nick and make sure he's solidified up because he had a pretty decent season this year.
Yeah.
Then, of course, you have Jared Cook. We found a tight end. Some people may think he's got the dropsies, but, man, catches the ball when he needs to on those third downs and when you need to get a 35-yard pass down the field.
And he had, he had a rough start to the season with, ankle injuries, and it just wasn't healing quick enough. And I still say pay the man.
I think Jared Cook had a lot of fun being a Green Bay Packer. I think he wants to stay. So, yes, let's see if we can wrap up Jared Cook. Now you have Dayton Jones, give or take at that point. I think Dayton still has something in the tank. He's only 26, so maybe we can keep him around, but you're getting into that spot where money versus position and salary cap might be an issue. Brett Good, obviously, the long snapper, up once again, coming in at 32 years of age. Eddie Lacy and Kristen Michael. I think Kristen Michael, like the Seahawkers, man, the Seahawkers podcast warned us when we were talking to them. The Seahawkers said, yeah, he's great. He spins around a lot. And I saw a lot of that spinning and dancing in this last game.
Well, that could come in handy next year when we implement the East Coast swing offense.
There you go. The Lindy hop.
Exactly. He'll be ready.
Lindy 42.
I mean, the West Coast offense, let's go East Coast swing.
Lindy 42. Hop, hop, hop.
5-6. Here you go.
The big question, of course, Eddie Lacy. What do we do with Eddie Lacy? Because he will be an unrestricted free agent coming off his rookie contract. So we'll have to see how that plays out. I'm still on the side of signing him. He obviously was a great player his rookie season. He was great while he was in this year. So I'd like to see an Eddie Ty 1-2 combo kind of thing like we had with back with James Starks and company. So let's go ahead and see if we can make that happen. Don Barkley, no love lost there. You know how we feel about Don. So we can just let that slide. JC Treader, though, at the center position. He's an unrestricted free agent.
Troy, so, this is quite a list.
It is. I mean, it's a big year. I mean, you got right there Barkley, Treader, and TJ Lang, all that awesome offensive line that we had this year. So we have to really take care of that and figure that out. We also have, unfortunately, Micah Hyde. Talk about needing cornerbacks. Micah Hyde is an unrestricted free agent this year, so he's going to make some bank for the season he put in. Jaron Elliott is also up as a restricted free agent. Shum will be a restricted free agent after we just found a punter. Now we're going to have to figure that out again. And then we have Joe Thomas, John Crockett, Christian Ringo, Don Jackson, Joe Carriage, and Mike Pennell round out the list of some of the other free agent designations. So quite a bit of people that we have to sign, and some that are quite a chunk of change.
Yeah,
so we're going to have to figure that out.
If it wasn't for the salary cap, this wouldn't be such an issue. Now, who, Troy, would you put the franchise tag onto to try to make sure that we have a good chance of keeping them around?
That's a really good question.
Maybe TJ Lang?
I would have to say TJ Lang. If you're going to put it on somebody, I'd put it on TJ. I mean, he's only 29.
He's a beast.
He's good too. So yeah, I mean, if you're going to put it on somebody, I'd put it on TJ.
Done.
I mean, you maybe you would put it on Nick Perry just because he's only 26, because TJ might want to stay anyway. So it just depends on how you want to. Yeah. It's a good question. Really good question. Where would you go?
Oh, I definitely would go with TJ Lang as well.
Okay.
And like you said, he's really part of that team. The offensive line is like their own team within a team. So maybe they can work out a little behind the scenes stuff like, I really do want to come back. So don't waste your franchise tag on me. Put it on one of the defensive players like you mentioned, Troy. And that could be a win-win, except for whatever it's going to cost.
Yeah, exactly right. That's a chunk of change. It is for sure. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting offseason to say the least. Ted and Mike are okay in my book. Dom Capers, sorry, man, with those playoff stats that I found out about. I think it's time Dom needs to switch out. So start up new. Get our defense built from ground up again. We'll have to see what happens. Hashtag get them at some help.
Definitely. Protect Aaron Rodgers. and not make him always have to play from behind. So physical and mental safety for Aaron Rodgers.
Well, I think that'll do it for the 2016 campaign there, Wayne.
I don't want it to be over. Hashtag not my Super Bowl. I know I mentioned that earlier. John Locke on Lost would have said, "This is not what was supposed to happen."
What am I supposed to do?
Every 108 minutes, start another episode of the podcast.
You know what's going to happen, though? At the end of the Super Bowl, they're not going to say John Locke's famous line. We're going to have to watch that again.
No, not this year's Super Bowl.
Make sure you check out 24 Legacy after the Super Bowl. We're big 24 fans. Hopefully it'll be able to be as good without Jack Bauer, so definitely check that out. It's going to be fun.
It's got Tony Almeida, though.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
Have you not seen the 8 million commercials Fox has been airing for?
I've been avoiding it.
Oh, well, oops.
I knew it was coming. That alone has got me excited to see this rendition.
Okay.
So, yeah, definitely check it out after the Super Bowl. 24 Legacy on Fox. And with that, the Unofficial Packers Fan Podcast is not affiliated with the NFL, the Green Bay Packers, but we'd sure love to be next year. So if anybody knows anybody in the offices, just let them know, hey, we're available for hire. We'd love to go ahead and do the show officially for the Green Bay Packers. You know, just give us the news. We'll read it. We'll make it entertaining. It'll be fun. Have them contact us at media@PackersFanPodcast.com. Also, don't forget to become one of the Packers Fan Podcast faithful. Visit PackersFanPodcast.com/support. We appreciate all the support you can give during the off season. We'll have our special draft episode. We'll have mini camp episodes. So make sure you tune in and subscribe in iTunes in order to make sure you don't miss a single one of those off-season podcasts.
Absolutely, because we might even be doing some sharing with a couple other Packers podcasts out there appearing on each other's shows during the off season. We'll see how it all comes together, but make sure that you have our free Packers Fan Podcast app. We've got one for iOS, one for Android. Those apps are presented by theticketking.com. Don't get sold out of your next Packers game next season. Visit PackersFanPodcast.com/tickets for all the details. And that way you will have the new episodes as they come out all season long and all off season. Follow us on Twitter at PackersFanPod. And because there might not be quite as much football as what we want during the off season, follow our personal accounts on Twitter as well. I am at Wayne Henderson.
And I am at Troy Heinrichs. And if you miss our voices, be sure to check out a few of our other projects. Definitely go back and check out Hulu's 11/22/63. That's the time travel Stephen King novel made into television show adaptation with James Franco. Definitely check that out. And then check out our podcast, 11/22/63podcast.com. Also, you can listen to me talk about all things The Blacklist on NBC. You can check that out at theblacklistexposed.com. We have ties to the room, talk to the cast, the crew, the writers. Definitely check that out. So if you're a Blacklist fan, theblacklistexposed.com. Also, if you haven't jumped on the Westworld bandwagon on HBO from this fall, or if you have, either way, you can also check out the Westworld podcast. That's Beyond Westworld at beyondwestworldpodcast.com. What else you got going on there, Wayne?
Don't forget to add one more. There's Aaron Peterson, superfan Aaron. He also produces the Remake This Movie Right podcast. And you and I are going to be in an episode coming up in the next couple of weeks, remaking another Stephen King movie for the Remake This Movie Right podcast. So check out all three of us Packers fans remaking another Stephen King movie. That podcast is a lot of fun. And then Aaron Peterson always has me record the trailer for the movie as if I'm doing it for the theaters. That's a lot of fun. And wow, there's a wide variety of episodes and trailers out there. So check out Remake This Movie Right. Also, right. Be sure to stay in touch with us. We've got the Facebook page, the Twitter account, and anytime you want to send us a message of any type, go to PackersFanPodcast.com/feedback to get your thoughts in. The season didn't end the way we wanted it to, but we still want to thank you so much for tuning in and listening to us talk about the 13-time NFL champion Green Bay Packers here on the Packers Fan Podcast.
That's right. Be sure to subscribe in iTunes once again so you don't miss any of our off-season coverage. The season may be over, but the 2017 campaign kicks off soon. So let's regroup, rebuild, right, and cheer on the Pack with a Go Pack Go!